3 meetings in one day. 3 different women attended them. All of them were me. If you're a different person in every meeting because you can easily adapt, and you get at the end of a day of a back-to-back meetings and you can't quite say which version was actually you, this video is for you. And by the end of it, you will understand exactly what that superpower has been costing you. I'm Sukunta. I spent more than 20 years in international corporate environment, reached director level, and then eventually burnt out. And a lot of what I understand now about high-achieving women came from looking back at how I was operating during those years. So let me tell you about one particular day. 9 o'clock that morning, I was in front of a room full of impatient executives. I was short, direct, and very much to the point. Then at 11, I had a meeting with a difficult client, and I was softer, more patient. I was choosing my words carefully because I didn't want to make that situation more difficult than it already was. Then at 2 o'clock, I was with my own team. And again, I was different. Not completely different, obviously. I was still me. But my tone was different. My energy was different. The way I communicated was different. 3 meetings, 3 versions of me. And at the end of that day, a colleague said something that was meant to be a compliment. She said, "It's like you can read what people want to hear." I smiled and I said thank you. But I kept thinking about it. That evening, I was standing in my kitchen and I remember thinking, if I keep becoming whatever people need me to be, who am I when nobody's watching? And that question stayed with me for a long time. And it took me a long time to figure out that the problem wasn't that I adapted. We all adapt. You walk into a room, you read the people, you read what's happening, and you adjust how you communicate. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem was that I wasn't just reading the room to understand where I was reading the room to figure out who I needed to be. And there's a difference. Because from the outside, you probably wouldn't notice anything. You can look calm and capable. You can be very good at reading people. You can know exactly when to speak, when to listen, when to push, and when to soften. And people might even see it as emotional intelligence. But there is a difference between adapting while staying connected to yourself and adapting by changing yourself to fit whoever is in the room in front of you. I was doing the second one. And the strange thing is, most of the individual changes don't seem important. You soften an opinion. You don't quite say what you were actually thinking. You hold back a concern. You laugh at something that wasn't really funny. You change your energy because the person in front of you has a much stronger personality. None of those things seems like a big deal. But you don't do it once. You do it hundreds of times. And after enough times, you can get so used to doing it that you don't even notice it anymore. So I decided to actually pay attention to it. I wasn't trying to stop myself from adapting because, honestly, I couldn't have done it. It was already automatic. I just wanted to see how often I was doing it. So I picked one meeting, and I deliberately picked an easy one. It was an internal meeting with people I knew and liked. I thought, okay, I'll probably notice 3 or 4 times. I started counting. The opinion I softened, the thing I didn't say, the way I changed my tone. I laughed at a joke that wasn't funny. My voice changing to match the energy of somebody else in the room. And I just kept going. I stopped counting at 11 and we weren't even halfway through the meeting. 11 in a meeting with people I liked. That was when I started to understand just how automatic this has become for me. And I'm not going to pretend that I had a huge breakthrough after that. The next day, I stopped doing the exercise. I told myself I was becoming too self-conscious. I told myself it wasn't helping. I told myself I was fine. And that lasted about a week. Then I went back to it because I realized that I wasn't stopping because it wasn't useful. I was stopping because it was uncomfortable. And I've been choosing comfortable over honest for a very long time. Once I started paying attention, I could actually see what was happening. I wasn't just saying, I think I just adapt too much. I could see it, meeting by meeting. And that gave me something I hadn't had before, awareness of the pattern. Now, if you do this, I don't want you to think there's something wrong with you. There probably isn't. But you build these patterns because they worked. They help you navigate people. They help you avoid conflict. They help you keep the peace. They may have helped you got promoted. And someone probably praised you for it. Maybe they called you emotionally intelligent. Maybe they said you were adaptable. Maybe they said you were great with people. And you probably are. But just because something helped you succeed doesn't mean that it isn't costing you something. That's the part I didn't see for a very long time. And if you want to understand more about this pattern and how these patterns can affect your self-trust, I've put together a free guide called Why High Achieving Women Lose Self-Trust Under Pressure. You can get it through the link in the description below. And this week, I want you to try something very simple. Pick one meeting. Don't try to change anything. Just pay attention. Notice the moments when you change something about yourself because of the person or the situation in front of you. Maybe you soften something you wanted to say. Maybe you hold something back. Maybe you change your energy. Maybe you agree with something you don't actually agree with. And just count. That's it. Because before you can change a pattern, you have to be able to see it. Understanding your pattern is the beginning of your power. No one owes you.